Hi, I'm Kacie Lueders, and this is Could Be Pretty Cool. On today's episode, we have a very special guest. Melba Moore is a Tony Award-winning actress, a recording artist with a career spanning more than 5 decades, and an entrepreneur who is still creating on her own terms. She has a new memoir out called This Is It, Marvelous and Getting Better. Plus, new music that proves she has no plans to slow down. I'll be honest with you, I approached this conversation with my little interview questions ready, and somewhere in the middle, it turned into something I wasn't expecting. We talked about what it actually feels like to be a first, how to know when to push and when to rest, and what it takes to stay creative and relevant across an entire lifetime. So I am thrilled and honored today to be speaking with Melba Moore. I am someone who comes from the theater world, and so I am very aware of the accomplishments and the legendary career that Melba has had. But for any of the folks listening who may not know, Melba, first, welcome to the program. And could you tell us, there's so much you could tell us, but could you tell us a little bit about you and what it is that you do?
Okay, I'm best known for being among the first Black Tony Award-winning actresses for Broadway musical. I have an illustrious recording career. I am an entrepreneur. And I've had a lot of challenges. I have a new book called This Is It, Marvelous and Getting Better, which is a memoir, because I'm told an autobiography tries to cover your whole life, but a memoir, just a smaller portion. And I have a new album out and a new single that's already #1 called Love Wins Every Time. That's kind of an overview.
That's incredible. And yes, going to dive into so many aspects of all of the things that you do. I would love to ask, you mentioned being a Tony Award-winning actor, have done incredible things. One of the things that I've noted is that you actually replaced Diane Keaton as Sheila in Hair in 1969. And this broke major racial barriers at the time. And you would hope that in this time in 2026, we wouldn't have to think and worry about those things. But
we're still Black.
But we're still Black. Yes, ma'am, we are. And so for those of us who are continuing to try to break barriers in whatever career that we are pursuing, first, I would love to know, how do you recognize when to step into spaces where people might not expect you to be in those spaces? I would love to know, how do you manage the pressure of being the first anything?
So in the beginning, while it's happening to you, that's not the pressure you're under. You're under the pressure of, what the heck am I doing? Who am I? What is this? How did I get here? And how do I stay here? The different kinds of pressures. But to answer your question, I'm in that space now, which is really wonderful, because now people want to know, how did you do it? Because they consider me a success. So that's what your question means. But at that time, that hasn't happened yet. But I should let you know that, because you're coming out now, young people are coming out now, and we see so many examples of success. And so you are going to be influenced by that, and you should be. But I should let you know, nothing's guaranteed.
Sure. So I guess a follow-up to that, so many folks right now trying to figure out my career, my passion, how can I step into spaces that maybe I have not experienced yet? Maybe I'm worried that people are going to, people use this term imposter syndrome, and I don't like to use that term all the time, but how can people overcome the feeling of, I might be the first one in this space, or I might have to, particularly for folks of color, folks with disabilities, folks of marginalized identity, stepping into spaces where they might be the first and feeling like, now I have to prove to everyone that, like, carrying this extra weight that is in addition to just showing up and being your best self.
I would say seek the creator. He made you and you didn't. He knows. And one of the things that our tribe, Black people, have always had, because we were so challenged, was we knew that there was a God. When everything else failed us, we just sat there and said, "Oh God," and then saw and heard and felt what happened after that, even under the pressure and under the horror of slavery. We still were not stopped. We still found the truth. We still found success. We still found ourselves. And you have to seek God because He made you and He wants the best for you. And I can tell you that I don't know if you're going to get over the fear and the consternation of being first estranged in some way. Go anyway. You're not going to get over it. Go.
That's actually very simple but powerful advice. I would love to ask, you mentioned that you have written a book, you have new music coming out, you're still performing. How can creatives diversify their work across different mediums without feeling burned out? Or what headspace do you have to be in to work on the book versus working on the music versus working on etc.?
Again, you have to spend time in prayer and meditation. You have to get to know the voice of the creator and get to know when it's time to pay attention to the fact that you're tired. Sometimes you have to push through, depending on what your age is and how much maturity you have, or if you're just precocious, that's the word. You might be too smart for your age. You might be smarter, so maybe some of the things I'm saying don't apply to you because you have maturity beyond your years. Maybe you're a genius. You still need God. And sometimes when you have a talent and you love it and it's being successful for you, you'll burn yourself out. You might not have that view. All of us have some kind of blind sights about ourselves. And so you find it in other people. They'll say, "No, you need to slow down." Maybe if you're getting a little agitated, you should slow down. We have different personalities. So some, what people call A personalities, are always agitated. That's a natural way for them. So they have to see some other, I think, human help and God help to see when is it too much for them. Like for me, I've had to wake myself up and get up and pick the speed up because I'm low key and I like to meditate. I'm interested. I want to know why the skies are blue, and I don't really want to get up and do anything. And so somebody and things have to put some fire under me, so I have to go. And then I don't usually suggest people do this because I think it's a lower form of prophecy, but astrology tells you a lot about your personality. So I think you should use the human helps and the godly helps to find out what your pacing should be. And maybe a little bit, what is your person? What am I? What kind of a personality am I? You get that from friends and enemies.
That is so relatable. I think I sometimes fall into the trap of if I'm doing a bunch of stuff, but it's all stuff that I really enjoy, that's okay. But yes, we as humans sometimes need to not do things all of the time, which is something that I'm definitely learning as I'm going along.
But you know what? While you're young and energetic and healthy, do as much as you can because everything that you do comes back to you. We're in circles. And then try to make sure that it's for a humane and good purpose because it's all going to come back to you. Because you might get a little tired and burn out later, but all this stuff coming back to you, it's going to be like me. It's all going to be good, okay?
I love that. That is definitely the goal. So you achieved household name fame in an era where there was really just word of mouth, television, maybe newspapers, way before internet, social media. I would love to know, what advice do you have for the modern artist and creative who is building an authentic brand, but they want to build a lasting fan base without having to rely on social media trends and algorithms? Like, how do you actually, as an artist, authentically connect with the audiences who are going to follow you throughout your career?
I have heroes and sheroes of my era. And if you like their work, you're going to love their work and you're going to look at them and look at their lives. And I think that's what they're for. They are examples, whether they want to be or not. And we look at who's out there in front of us and, we imitate, but that's okay. You'll still find yourself, I think. And you look at the good and the bad but I think if you first are going to look at, regardless of what age you are, whatever attracts you, whatever either similar to what you might want to do, or it's nothing like what you want to do, but you just love it. Then look at their lives too and see if you can find things to learn about. I think what's probably maybe interesting about my life is it seems that I did these things during a time when they weren't done. So how did I know to do them? So I'm going to tell you to follow your heart, but you want to know, how do you do that, right? How do you follow your heart? I'm not sure I really know, but I guess that's why, even if you're very young, if you can spend time with the Lord in a prayer, just a small prayer, just say, Lord, who am I? What do I want to do? Start to look at yourself and find out who you are, but in a quiet environment. And then you can think about other people that you would normally compare yourself to, instead of just letting all of the media just bombard you. And you don't really have a choice about who you're looking at, because everything is being poured at you. So take some time and say, maybe I don't want that. Make some choices for yourself. Learn how to do that. And you can do that pretty much at any age, because sometimes, depending on what the contents of your life is, you might have to be busy. You don't have the luxury of being able to take time, So you have to take time to spend time alone with you and God. Just be quiet if you don't know how to pray or whatever, because you don't have to know nothing. He knows it all. That's why I'm leading you to God. And if you just spend time and say, well, God, would you show me this? Just ask him first. I don't care what religion you are. And then be by yourself, not with your parents, not with your friends, not with anybody to influence you. And then see if you can learn to hear your voice, his voice. Learn to hear your heart. Learn to hear, yeah. Learn what that is, what that sounds like. And then follow it and see if it's leading you in the right place or not. The last time you told me that I got into some trouble, remember those things. And was it good trouble? All trouble is not bad. I'm probably confusing you, but there's so much to pick from.
You're not confused. And the thing is, like, as deeply spiritual as that advice is, it's also so practical. Sometimes we don't have to always be scrolling our phones, looking at stuff. Sometimes we don't always have to have something on or something to do. How can creators and artists factor in more time?
You know what? Creators usually are movers. Even if it's just mentally, they can't help it. The creative energy is moving and is looking, is taking, is doing something. So you have to say, stop. Just stop. See, can you do that? Because creative people can't do that.
Yep.
It rules them. I know that because I don't have that problem.
Clearly. And actually, I would love if you could tell us more about your new album. Talk to us a little bit about what sort of inspired it. What's keeping you excited to continue to create and make music? Speaking of that, not stopping. Yeah, I would just love to learn more about the process behind your latest work.
If I didn't have my daughter, I probably would have some other young people in my life to allow me to be relevant in my own community now that I'm a mature, older person. And so that I could continue doing what God has given me to do without trying to be the person I used to be. A new creature now. Now it's time to figure out, how am I going to gather up this stuff so I can pass it on? And I've got so much. I need to have a legacy. Do I have one? What is that? I'm so busy and enjoying my longevity and my youthfulness, and I'm not paying attention. Time is going. And there is an eternity, but it's not here. So maybe you better hurry up and just slow down and listen. So, but your question was, okay, my daughter, she said, Mom, she said, first of all, everybody got a book but you. I said, so what? She said, you need to have a book. Then I recall, especially as a Black person, that wasn't a privilege for us 20, 30 years ago. So much. We don't maybe think about that because we're so caught up in keeping up. And that's not wrong. There's so much more going on, and it's so much of it is so wonderful. If you can't keep up, go to the gym and get in shape so you can get up. Things are moving faster. That doesn't mean you have to run, but you want to be healthy. And so much of the environment is killing us before our time. You can't go fast food and junk food. No matter what age you are now, we now know it's bringing on Alzheimer's. It's bringing just so many different things that allow you to find out who you are and how to do it this time. But for somebody like me, I'm mature now. So I want my youth, I want to be able to do at least some of the things that I've always been able to do. So that means I have to put some things aside, put some things in storage, give some things away, because I'm not going to use them all right now. I can't. And then listen to what somebody definitely younger has to say. And of course, I'm going to listen to my own family, my own children, no matter what they say, which is really good. That means you somehow have an open mind. I've been really an independent artist for the last 20 years or so. So that's one of the ways that I've been able to stay relevant. I get kicked off my label like most of the people did when they got to be my age. But then all these wonderful songwriters and producers brought me different songs and I recorded them. So I've continued to have a recording career, which means that I've kept up the care of my whole body and mind and spirit for that purpose. I stayed in shape and I don't have to get in shape. And so when she said, Mom, I got a song for you. Okay, it's just a part of another thing that I can do. And now as an independent artist, I can record for her and 25 other people at the same time if I want to, because the times have changed like that. So that's why I can continue to perform, because the young people keep bringing me songs and producing for me and making it sound like it's supposed to, and they want me to be who I am. They're not trying to make me somebody else. So then when my daughter finally comes along and says, Mom, I want you to, I said, well, why don't you start a label and put me on it? So now we're making her an entrepreneur. So I think it comes out of naturally going to God every day. And especially when you go to him when you have some really serious, heavy challenges. And then after a while, you realize you should stay right there. Then as things come along, they're not so troublesome as these changes are going. You're going step by step instead of sitting in one place and doing it the same way and not really moving anything. So when the things have changed so much, there's a big gap for you. You can't really make it. She started her label. It's called Gallery Entertainment. And she put together the whole team and they go out and find these great songs for me. So I don't have to look for them. And I can still do all the music if I want to. Because I don't want other people's music to compete with her company, so I don't. So now I'm thinking like the big record companies. But I'm thinking one step at a time and you're growing bigger and bigger. And you also are keeping what you had, but you're evolving. You're not trying to remain back where you were. You got to move forward, or things are moving forward.
What you're tapping on is the physical requirements of being able to be present and being able to continue in this work. You talked about the differences between label life and indie life and some of the differences there with ownership and independence, creating generational creative entrepreneurs with your daughter starting a record label in order to produce your album. There are so many gems in there that it just sounds like the evolution of life, the evolution of your career seems to flow into the next thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you teach that. I don't know how.
I think you can't. You have to be it and succeed and have a project. And then people invite you on their podcast like you and say, well, how did you do that?
My final question for you is, looking back at your career and all the things that you've done, you've effectively done it all. You've won the awards, you've done the books and the tours and the albums. What would you actually say is the single biggest misconception about what it actually takes to stay creative and relevant and also fulfilled in a lifelong creative career?
The biggest misconception, I have a suspicion you probably, from your perspective, would be able to tell me that better. If you tell me what you think it is, I can probably open it up a little bit. I'm not sure I can see it.
Sure. I would say from where I'm sitting now, the biggest misconception would seem to be that kind of what we talked about. You can't stop. The moment you tell somebody no, they're never going to call you again, especially now with AI this and AI that, and AI can make a podcast if you want. It almost feels like, oh, I have to continuously go in order to stay relevant, in order to stay bookable, in order to be able to do the work. Does that fulfill me?
I think that at certain ages, you have to do that. I think you would see it from that perspective properly because you're at that stage. You got to get up and go and get out and do everything that you possibly can. That's when you're young and healthy and strong and powerful. And you might burn yourself out, but not really permanently. But if you do that for decades, but there are eras in your life when you should and you must do that. I know that's true. But if you try to do that when you're 70 or 80 and you still want to live a long life and you've already lived a long life, it's not going to happen. But at your age, yeah, just make sure you're not eating junk food, that you're not having anything that's taking away your vitality and your health prematurely. Because they're saying now that they're finding a lot of these diet foods and diet sodas, especially the classic ones, are actually causing Alzheimer's. Because we have an epidemic of Alzheimer's. And I know that we probably had it before, we didn't know what the name was. But now that we have a continuing blossoming of the medicine society or group or tribe, they're going to give a name for it and a prescription for it, because that's how they get rich. And I think they collaborate with the food industry and industry, not caring about the environment. So at your young age, you have to look at all of these things because the information is available there for you. You put it in certain places that different fashions and fads come and go and different eras come and you get older. So I don't need that, but you don't throw it away. Some things come back around, and there's always the primary element of the present and the future. You just don't know what's going on, even though it might be right in front of your face. So you have to somehow be able to figure it out. And you can't do it if you don't have a space where some of that is put aside for a moment, and your mind and your spirit and your soul can take a rest and regenerate, I think.
I don't know if you know just how helpful I think all of this information is going to be for folks at every stage of their creative careers. I'm like, yes, how can I be better about stillness? And
what you said is really good, because for somebody else it will be something else. But you already know that about yourself, and what's great about that, I'm just confirming what should give you confidence in your knowledge of yourself. Because we always do these things because we don't have any confidence in ourselves. And we don't want it to be arrogant or ego, but you don't want to give your identity away because there's too much around you and you can't pick yet and you can't take it all at once. So what you're saying you see in me is what I want for you, and that is a flow. And you're an intelligent person, so there is already the gift of order. I don't know how much or what kind of education you have and what your family life is, but I can already see it's orderly. So, you want to prize that. I'll just let you know you already have that. With all this chaos coming from outside, you can think like you don't have it, but you do have it.
Just the surprises of the power of having a conversation. That is what I love about this show, about this platform. A conversation I truly believe can change a mind, which can change a life. And so now we're going to have a conversation out in the world that could potentially help someone else who is thinking about all the things that we're talking about. But before I let you go, could you tell folks how they can find out more about your work, what you got going on? What's the best way for them to do that?
Okay, my website is melbamore.com. And I think my Instagram is Melba, the number 1 more. Then all social networking platforms, because I don't know the rest of them.
That works. We'll make sure we'll do our research and add them all to the show notes. Melba, thank you so much again for being a part of the show. And yes, best of everything in all that you're doing. You're such an inspiration to those of us who can't sit still, but are trying to figure out how to eventually get into a flow state. So thank you.
Thank you for having me, of course, and enjoying this conversation. I've had a really wonderful time. Thank you.
What a gift that conversation was. Here are a few things that stuck with me. Number 1, go anyway. Melba was honest that the fear of being the first or the only in a space never fully goes away. You don't wait to get over it. You go anyway. Number 2, learn your own pacing. Melba talked about using both human help and quiet time to figure out whether you're someone who needs a push or someone who needs to slow down. The people around you often see your limits before you do. Number 3, evolve instead of competing with your past. Melba has stayed relevant for decades by listening to younger voices, staying open to new ways of working, and moving forward as, in her words, a new creature rather than trying to be who you used to be. And finally, there are seasons for the hustle. When you're young and healthy, that's the era to go. But that pace has an expiration date, and protecting your health and your stillness is what makes a lifelong career possible. If you want more analysis and practical takeaways from this episode, head over to our Substack. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. Farewell, and may all of your creative endeavors flourish. Could Be Pretty Cool News is a Could Be Pretty Cool original production. Created, hosted, and executive produced by Kacie Lueders. Senior producer is Liz Moore, and supervising sound editor is Trinity Jackson. Our original theme music was composed by Camille Stillness and cover art design by AJ Johnson. To learn more about Could Be Pretty Cool and discover whatever else we're up to, visit us at couldbeprettycool.substack.com. Thank you for listening.